Hello, hello. Good morning. Good full moon morning. Um, I hope you all are doing okay. I hope you guys are feeling good with this full moon. I've had a lot of anxiety. Anytime Uranus is at play, I always feel a lot. And then I totally forgot that this full moon was T squared by Saturn. So I'm also just feeling like certain things are impossible. Um, and trying to look around and see what has been revealed to me as what is possible and what is truth. And I've just been sitting here this morning meditating and kind of reflecting, thinking. Um, Thank you guys for the feedback from the. Well, I wanted to check in because I got feedback from the podcast. Sorry. My mind's kind of all over the place a little bit, so bear with me. But thank you guys so much for the feedback that we got. All of it was wonderful. And a lot of you really struck and really resonated with a lot of it. And we're really thankful. And I was really appreciative of that. You know, I try to mask it and not act like it, but like, it's pretty nerve wracking doing this a little bit, especially if you're Geminis and Chiron and you're constantly like worried about your words and the impact they make. Also having autism and believing everything has a moral value and purpose, and makes it all like a lot bigger and harder. um and sometimes we just need to have these little conversations and put the idea out there and get the ball rolling. And that's really what I wanted to do. And I'm so glad I did, because like I said, most of the feedback was very like, thank you for saying this. I've always felt this way or that. But some of, particularly from one person that I'm really admired, really respect, and have done some work with that I don't discount. Um, I just want to talk about some things that was brought up in that regard to address, because um, obviously I'm still working on getting my point across. So and getting it across correctly. um, so here's a little short tale, and stick with me here. uh, I kind of started, the reason why I feel the need to do this so much now is because of the work I have done with that QHHT practitioner. It's because of my past life work, that I know that I have to do this. This is part of my integration practice. Um, I have never claimed to know anything. I've always wanted to everyone to know that I just like heal openly. I research constantly, read. I was always very open to that, always very practicing, or I mean like active in practice, just trying to put my hands on everything, learn everything. And I've always like have been open about that journey and have tried to welcome people, and just say, come on, this helped me, this helped me, this helped me. And while that is wonderful in a lot of ways, and everything that I have used has helped me get to this point, and I don't discount any of my work, and especially any of my spiritual work or healing work. Like, none of that is like discounted. It would be if I don't do this, but none of it is something that I just like don't believe with and don't stand with anymore. Um, it's mostly about the language and the lens that we are taking this from and how we are using these things. Um, Myself, as a white woman, white women in history, like, harm marginalized communities. Like, it's just a thing, like what white women do. Um, and I have been a part of that. I have promoted things that have harmed marginalized communities. And the best way for me to do that the best way for me to not do that and the remedy to that is to speak out against it. And for reasons like I said before, learning now and realizing now what maybe some of the things, like the root or some of the associations of things that I have been promoting, um, it is my spiritual responsibility now, um, to, uh, you know, call myself out and have this conversation. And to be honest, partly because it's, podcast and we're, trying to get views and watches, obviously. But partly because of how I feel about this so strongly. A lot of the conversation might seem a little crass, might seem a little, because I am really trying to distance um, uh, myself. So please understand that I was never trying to discount anyone else's work or work that you've done through me or with me or work that I've talked about. Um, but the work never stops and it's constant and it's in cycles and we always go back. And from the lens that I was speaking from I shouldn't have been speaking on it at all. And that is why now I have to be so loud and proud, speaking out against it. And again, this is a podcast. We are trying to get people's attention, to get people to watch and to like start these conversations. And you know me with Shanna, like we get loud and it's funny, we have a good time. Also, that's like covering a lot of nerves and stuff as well. Um, uh, maybe we'll get better as it goes on, but as of right now, like, that's how we are, and that's how we've been. And I don't want to lose that. Um, but right now, I just want to use it in the right way. That is my spiritual path right now. That's the integration that I need to do in this lifetime from my past life work. Um, and I hope that makes a lot of sense, or at least some. But please, this is the point. If you can't question, if you can't communicate, if we can't have discussions, then, that's not healing. That's a cult and it's bullshit. So that's the whole point. Um, and yeah, like I said, this is going to be my journey, calling out things that I've said that I shouldn't have talked about, because they have been used. And I'm not saying that there's not good parts and there's not great ideas and, wonderful insight and wonderful ideas for healing. But they have been used for harm by white women to marginalized societies. So this is now my journey and Shanna is on it with me. Um, and so you know, I really started, uh, you always think that you're like doing good work. I obviously never thought I was inherently racist or upholding all these ideals. I always thought I was a good liberal and feminist and anarchy and yada yada. But starting to really seriously do this work in 2020, um, you start to realize, um, well, I was starting to realize that, like, even though I was doing this work, things weren't fitting. Things weren't connecting in my life as they should. If I'm doing anti-racist work, why am I, not surrounded more by diversity and things like that? And from my QHHT session and from integrating it until now, I finally started to realize that the reason this was the block, me talking about and really acting like an expert and taking these teachings and taking them from people who took them from a lens of superiority and trying to teach them as healing. while they have served their purpose, now for the true healing and true integration, I've got to rip it all apart and see what is left, where it came from, and all of that. So again, I will want to have all these conversations. We will continue. This is the new path of this Patreon for now. This and astrology. Like I said, this has always been me and Shanna's work. We've always, in the beginning of Witches of Three, when we talked about, political or things, we always said this is spiritual work. And so I'm always very like way open with my spiritual work and bring everyone with me. And this is what it is now. And I'm here anytime for any questions. If you want to have a conversation about a certain something, I would love to. If you want to have a discussion on here, I'm down for that too. The thing is we have to have open conversations. We have to start having these conversations. And I feel like I definitely have some responsibility in that. And that's it. And that's all the passion and all the, like I said, whenever I learn something or figure something out, I feel it with all of 1,000% of myself. Since I've been doing this integration work and figuring out what my new path is, I've been waking up in the middle of the night just being like, I've got to tell him. I've got to, I have to remove myself from certain things and publicly acknowledge that, I shouldn't have said shit and I shouldn't have taught shit about it. Happy full moon, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their weekend and a lovely full moon. Thank you.